And with this, we can start already. So I'm going to give you Gregor. That is, Gregor is the person that is responsible of all the development in the European Pollinator Hub. And he is the one that has developed all the nice features that that you will see today. He's going to train you on how to use them. Of course, with the help of the team, because we are working very much on a team spirit, let's say. And yeah, I leave you with Gregor. Yeah, so today we are going to learn how to update datasets in the European Pollinator Hub. Enjoy.
Hello, everybody. My name is Gregor Sushan, and today I will show you a sneak peek of the software that we are developing. This session will come in two parts. The first part will be a presentation, and the second will be a demonstration. I would prefer if during presentation phase, you wait with your questions, because if they are related to the software immediately, because we will repeat those steps during the demonstration, and I will probably talk about more features there and details. So let's start. So our agenda for today. The first is to talk about this project, the EU Pollinator Hub. And then we will talk about data lifecycle. As the point of the software is to upload the data, we want to show you our idea how the data lifecycle should look like. Then we will go through registration steps on this platform. After it, we will go through the workflow that is required to upload the data set. A bit talk about possible cooperation within the platform, and then the demonstration. So the first question you ask yourself, why should I use this hub?
Sorry, Gregor, maybe you are not in the presentation mode. I can see the upper part of the slide.
You are only seeing part of the slide.
No, it's fine for me.
Me too, it's fine also.
Okay, so this is my problem.
I will reshare just in case.
Oh, now it's perfect for me. Thank you.
Technical difficulties.
Yeah, it was the last, the people that are coming later, maybe that will have this problem. But we'll see if this happens in the future.
Okay, I'll just refresh the share. Okay, so the first question is, why should I be using the BeeHub to upload my data? Let's be honest, there are quite a few solutions out there already that could be used for that, and we understand that. But want to point out a few key features why we think it's better to do it with us. First of all, our focus is on accessibility. So your data will be fair. Those that are those that do not know this acronym, it's basically about findable, accessible, interoperable, and reusable. So your data sets will be available to everyone. The next is that you're sharing with a community here. The community that we are building together with our supporters, EUB Partnership and EFSA. Then when you're uploading a data set, a data report is prepared for you based on the information you have prepared for it, so which can be used elsewhere as well. Then in the near future, we hope to allow on your with your permission, of course, to automatically share this data set that will be uploaded on the platform directly to EFSA Knowledge Junction on Zenodo. That way, you could also get a new DOI if you do not have yet one. Then, what we are really proud of on this platform is visualizations. So whatever data you're uploading, you will be able to visualize it. If we combine your data and enrich it with data from other existing data sets on the platform, we can enrich your data and do even more with it. And the last point is that with the help of all the data sets that will be uploaded on the platform, we will be able to generate various publications based on this data. One such example could be a yearly report of honey production from all the data that we collected, for example. Okay, so what do we do? With this project, we're basically building the infrastructure, so the software, that allows users to bring observations and data in general related to pollinators and making sense of them. It will be possible to transform raw data into valuable information for decision making. The idea is to have a collective approach in the pollinator community. More on this later. And the platform is currently still in beta stage, basically in development until February 2024. So the end of development is nearing close. This is why you may expect some errors in the software, hopefully not too many. Mostly are to blame me, fortunately, as the developer, but we are making sure that there are as few as possible. And also we have a few procedures for you available that you can submit any possible errors you encounter during the usage of the platform. So what is this platform? It's an open source platform, which should be available to everybody. For us, it's very important that ownership is clearly marked. We do not own the data that you upload on the platform. You remain in control of your data. And we're hoping for a tight integration between various sectors in the beekeeping community, between beekeeping community, public institutions, and scientific communities. This is something that we feel currently is very lacking. So what you can do is the data management and publishing tool. You can upload the data sets. You can internationalize your data set, and together with the existing standardization effort inside the dictionary, we are building a pollinator-related dictionary. Firstly translated in European languages, but support for all world languages. Then when we have data sets in the platform, we are able to do some processing and create some reports based on that. And yes, it's community driven. So the data lifecycle. When we decide that we have collected enough data and it's time to integrate it into a software, the first step is the import. Now, this is what we will be focusing on today in this very first step, where we will look over how to do the data validation and how to prepare all the metadata required for your data set to be accepted and of as high as quality as possible. Once this data set is important, you are able to manage it, to edit it, to add modifications. Once you're satisfied, you can submit it for review. We have a two-step review process. First is on a technical review, basically checking if all the fields that are expected are filled out, the structure is correct, that it's understandable. And the second optional step is a peer review. After a data set is published, you will be able to interact on it on the platform. Currently, this is still not possible, but it will be available very soon. So a simple feature such as dataset search, the download of the datasets, and visualizations of the datasets. And the users will be able to give feedback on these data sets, from a simple rating system all the way to feedback collection directly to the data providers, which is hopefully to be you. And the analytical data will be collected as well to have an idea if your data set actually sparks interest in the community. In the platform, we have a multi-step registration process. Main why? In one way, we want to have it as simple as possible, but with the complex software as the Pollinator Hub is, it's not easy to make it simple. So we decided for a multi-step process. The platform itself, most features of the platform will be publicly accessible. So even if you're not registered, you will be able to download published data sets, you will be able to explore them and view any of the visualizations available. But if you register, you can stay anonymous. The only requirement is an email address. There's some more features available to you, like favorites, saved search queries, some dataset feedback. But in order to use the full potential of the software, we need to upgrade our account to a non-anonymous user, where we can then become either a dictionary translator, a data provider, or even a peer reviewer. And all the tools required to do this will be built into the product. So today, as you know, we'll be focusing on data provider features. We already had one session that it was about the dictionary. I believe the recording of this session is available. Yes, it is available. On your request, we can send it to you as well. So once you register on the platform, you need to become a data provider. So who is a data provider? In a way, okay, this is you, but the difference is that your let's say personal profile information is private. Whatever you write in here in this field, this will be public. So you become a public persona on this platform. Without it, you cannot publish data sets. Unfortunately, that's a requirement from our side. When you create a data provider, you create yourself as a provider, so a physical person. After you do this step, there is a possibility to not only upload data as yourself, but also as an entity. So for example, in the name of the institution or company you're working for. That way we can actually manage several different entities at the same time inside the platform, as well as collaborate together, cooperate together with other users that share the same entity. And that's how we can also pass access to let's say, data related to your institution from person to person without sharing username and password, as sometimes you do that in. Okay, so what is the workflow to upload a data set? First, we start with meta information. This is the standard information about the data sets. So about the data set, about the data provider, and individual tables or files, the actual data that you will be uploading. Once this is prepared, you can start with uploading files. There are certain profiling tools available. We're still working on them to add more features, to improve them, which allows you to figure out if the data set uploaded has been read correctly by the system. As we all know, there are many different file types, file structures, and problems that can arise when you upload the data. With the profiling, you can figure out what those issues are and what steps you should take to fix them. Once we're happy with the uploaded data set, we start describing individual tables in the data set. At the same time, we also can start building a dictionary for this data set. Now, the dictionary is still a work in progress, but the aim of it is to standardize the format of your data set to allow very precise understanding of how your data set is structured. Once you're satisfied with everything you've done, you submit your data set for review, which then follows a technical quality validation or even peer review if requested. So once the submit process is complete, if the data set passes it, then it will be published on the platform and processed. So what exactly processed mean? It means that it can be integrated with other data sets on the platform. So once we become a data provider, we start with My Data Catalog. Here we have a list of all data sets. Obviously, when you start, there's none there because these are only related to you or to the provider you are managing right now. So the first things first is to create a data set. You have to answer yourself, who is the data provider? If you're uploading a data set that is owned by you, created by you, it's probably you. But if you are working on a project within a company, within an institution, or even a wider project with many entities, you can include here other institutions, organizations that are working on this project. Then you define a title, you define a user license. Why is this important? Well, as I said, we want to be very transparent about data ownership, but also how your data is used on the platform after it's been uploaded. We are using Creative Commons licenses as a base, how you can share your data. There are a few options available that you can choose from, but there is the last option that you do not wish to share your raw data publicly, which is fine. We understand. There are many different reasons behind that. Either it's under embargo because you have a deadline when you will publish your publication, or you're simply not allowed to. But when you're uploading a data set on the platform, you can allow us to process it and use it in aggregated data. So your raw data is never exposed and should stay safe within the platform. The next thing to set are contributors. So these are actual owners of the data sets. Usually these are physical persons working for an entity. So you can manually define them there if there's multiple people cooperating on a project, on a data set. And the last one is contact information. If you would like users of the platform to contact you with any questions related to a data set, you can include them here. Once we create a data set, we have to describe the tables or individual files that we will be uploading the data set on for. We start with a name. Then how do we provide this data? Now, for most of you, the file format will be most typical usage. What is a file format? Well, it basically is a single file. You export your MySQL database into a CSV file and import it in the software. But sometimes the data set is so large, current limitations are around 10 megabytes. In the future, we will raise that, but still this limitation could be way too small. Let's be honest, there are data sets that are millions of data points or gigabytes of data large. So in that case, you can either cut it up in smaller pieces and in the same and upload several files in the exactly same structure. The third option is to provide a link to cloud services. So I don't know, to Dropbox, to Teams, where your data is available. And the fourth option is to upload it via an API. We are still building the API, but you should be able to connect your applications, your sensors to the Pollinator Hub API in order to transfer data directly that way. Once we understand what format we have, there's also an incoming license. So sometimes we have reference data sets that you didn't make yourself, but you took it from somewhere. For example, ISO country list or a national list of post numbers. So this would be uploaded with a separate license here. So that would be an incoming license where you can actually either select one existing one or create custom license that is required for your project. And in the About section is something that you would typically find information included in your README files when you're sharing a document. So a description of the tables. Okay, so once we're finished with metadata, we start with uploading physical files. So currently, we only support CSV files. In the near future, hopefully Excel will be supported or Open Office format. Maybe in the future more, probably. There are some basic settings for you available to try and correctly import the dataset. At this step, it's very important to understand the structure of your dataset, that how the individual columns are delimited, what is the encoding, and the last part is define the missing values. So sometimes we use just empty for a missing value, but sometimes we encode it ourselves. For example, null or NA, not applicable, not available. So in that case, we can type custom missing value here that during the profiling segment will be checked against. So the next step is the profiling. There are many measures here that should help you figure out if your data set is correctly detected or if there's any errors in there. We will go in details through them during the demonstration phase. But there are metadata measures, descriptive measures, data quality, there's some samples, how they were detected, and there's profiling charts available to check for each column, yes. Okay, so once we're satisfied with how we imported the data, we need to describe the tables, the columns, excuse me. What should we write here? Well, if a table is named ID, okay, it's obvious, it's an identifier. But what kind of identifier? What was the logic behind it? How it was generated? All of this information would fit in here. Or for example, if we are having a value, a hive scale weight, then we would describe it, what kind of machine is collecting this data, or if we're doing manually, what kind of methodology we use to collect this data. The more information we provide, the more concise, the more complete this data set upload will be. Now, during the profiling section, we try to figure out if your column contains numbers, or it's text, or it's a date. But you can be much more exact here. This is what we call descriptors. The descriptors are used to machine identify the data. This helps you to connect, to relate to data already uploaded on the platform or will be uploaded in the future. With this, we are able to connect all data sets that have uploaded high scale weight data, for example. Sometimes we are working with non-standard units, so that's why we can also define what unit this value has been entered, because let's say a standard weight for a standard unit for hive weight would be kilogram, but maybe you're more precise in using grams, or you're an American and use pounds, or from Great Britain, for example, United Kingdom. Sorry. Okay, so the last step before submitting your data set would be building a dictionary. Now, this, as already mentioned, this is still under construction, but the idea behind it is to give meaning to textual values within your data set, to have a very precise definition of all the naming conventions. This is mainly for standardization purposes. Obviously, if you want to upload a data set, you would not have to do for everything this, but for the key points of your data that you believe are the most important and could help the community most. Okay, so at this point, we should be able to upload all of the data. And then we just submit it for review, which then takes us to before last section, which is about cooperation. So I already mentioned that this tool is used for cooperation. How you can cooperate? Well, one way is that multiple people can manage single data sets at the same time. So you can share the workload of uploading a data set, for example, or to manage it. But the other part is the dictionary itself. So the point of the dictionary is to have defined classes, their definitions, and translations in various languages. We have done a lot of work already to create a lot of classes, a lot of definitions. We have imported quite a few translations, but we do not know all of the languages, obviously. So that's why we are hoping on community to help us there. And now let's start with demonstration. So let me share my other screen. Everybody see the website? Okay. So you will land at this point once you register on the platform. We will provide a link where you can register at the end, and you have confirmed your account. So actually, I'm in incorrect accounts, excuse me. That should be more correct. There you go. There you go. So at the top, you see a Become Data Provider. I believe some of you already tried to become a data provider before the session or yesterday, but there were some errors that prevented this. Now this functionality should work. So the first thing first, okay, so I've registered myself via email address and that's it. I didn't provide any personal information except email address until now. But in order to become a data provider, the platform does need to know more information about me, which is my name, surname, and the country of origin. Okay, so now I'm met with another form, which helps me to create myself as a data provider. You can write some details about yourself, add some contact information, and accept the terms and conditions. There. So I have now created an entity that is called Grigor Sushan, so myself, that can upload and manage data. Now, if you're cooperating with other people via an institutional organization, you could have more here. You can just create a new data provider here, for example, the name of the organization you're working for. And then once you have created it, you can add more people to cooperate in the project. Let's go to my data catalog, which is empty, and create a new data set. Now, I've created an example test data set that contains a few things that you might meet during the process of uploading a data set. So it's called veterinary cases. Yeah. So reports of multiple diseases reported by Apis mellifera. I don't have a DOI yet. I would like to share my this data set as where are you? Attribution international. Let's write a small description. Well, the exact details of this text is not really important. They're only for presentation purposes here. Let's say I'm a contributor myself for the purpose of this example. So example author. Would like to provide, and I would like the dataset to be published after it is accepted. Now you can go back and edit all of these details as well. So nothing you do is final until you click the publish button. So let's start with uploading a new table. So we will start with something simple. I have a table prepared called disease references. Now, this is my own data, or I have full permission to use it, so I don't have to provide license details. It's a single file and a simple description. Okay, let's create it. Great. So let's start with the uploading of a file. We check it. Of course, it forgot where I have it. Yes, there you go. And upload. Okay, so let's do a quick profiling look. What did it find? Oh, we have a single column named disease ID semicolon. Of course, I forgot that the file is separated by semicolons. It's not a comma separated file. So I would just delete it and re-upload it. And column delimiter would be semicolon upload. Now I see there are 3 tables. Now, this is a very short data set. If we look at the sample data, there's only 3 items in here. But we can quickly see, okay, so first item is some numbers, then we have text and more text. The system recognized it correctly. It's an integer, it's text, which you can see also in this side. There's some quick descriptive measures, but they are not really relevant for such a short data set. So let's go to the next step. Let's describe the columns. So we have a disease ID here. So what is a disease ID? Well, it's an identifier used to identify a row. As simple as that, or not a row, but a disease in or the data set. It is automatically enumerated starting from number 1 and then incremented by 1. Okay, so let's skip everything else because it's not as important. We will go into details in the next step, so it's not too much at the same time. Let's go to the next step. So all 3 columns, when we uploaded the data set, all of 3 columns now showed up here. So we can also describe name short, which is basically an abbreviation of the honeybee disease name. And let's go to name and name it. Basically, it's a full name of the honeybee disease name. And that's it. We want to keep it short and simple because it's not really that important. It's more of a reference. So let's update it and close it. Okay, we have uploaded one file. Let's go to a more complicated example. Again, new table. Bad case 80, as in Austria. So again, this is my own data. It's a file source, and let's just copy description. So it's basically data that has been procured from Austrian consumer health communication platform. Let's create it and upload file. Bad cases. Upload. Let's see. Okay, the columns were correctly identified. There's actually more than 10. Let's check for other things then. If we look at the sample data from file, it checks first several items. So we have ID, year, those are numbers, then some text, number, date, null, date. Okay. Annotation, null. All of them are null. Okay, so let's check how were they identified. So ID, integer, correct. Number. Annotation, it's text. Wait a second, all of the values were null. And if we check the descriptive, let's show all of them. Annotation, what is this? Minimum value, maximum value, null. Okay, so it was incorrectly detected as a string. So what we have to do is go back one step again, re-upload it, and type in null, because this is the character sequence that we use to identify missing values. And if we check the result now, annotation, none. Great. No values because all of them are null. Perfect. And at the same time, we can notice that date, for example, was also now correctly identified as a date. Previously, it was a text because it took null values as text, which was incorrect. So the descriptive values can then help you to identify errors in the data set. For example, if you have too large, too few values, how many are there, if there's any missing, zero, blanks, and so on. There's a lot of statistical tools here that can be used. We will let you explore that yourself because it's too much. There's also a tab about quality measures, so completeness, uniqueness. So sample we already saw. And the last tab is profiling charts. So for example, an ID is a very interesting one because we understand how IDs work. They start from 1 and finish at the end of the file. So if we check the graph, okay, so it's continuous data distribution because it's many data sets. They are more or less the same. It's just that our function for binning these values is not yet perfect. We're still working on it. But the outliers make sense that they are all values from 1 to 513. If you go, for example, to animal species, we have only one value, which is the bee, if I'm not mistaken, some sort of apis. So this is, for example, we can understand that this is correct. There's also which, for example, if we look at nuts, I believe everybody knows it. It's a nomenclature for regions in Europe, and we can see that the most values come from 8012. Of course, we would have to look up which region that is, but later we will allow to relate, to reference directly locations and other things inside the platform. So one step at a time, obviously. So let's say I'm satisfied now with this data set. Let's describe it. But because there's so many columns, let's not do all of them. But I believe case number might be interesting here. So what is a case number? A case number adopted by Austrian Ministry for Social Affairs, Healthcare and Consumer Protection, basically. But why would that be interesting to anyone? Well, in theory, you might upload a data set that is about this similar topic, and it might reuse these case numbers. So it makes sense to create a descriptor for this sort of case numbers. Obviously, this case number doesn't exist yet. So if you type in case number, none found, but we can create a descriptor. So let's name it case number. There. It's a string, no unit. We'll skip the image. There. Now it's possible to relate this case number if they're anywhere used in any other data sets of yours. During the review process, we might decide that a descriptor is useful enough that it could be used in general. So we could decide that, okay, this one is useful because we need to grow our database of descriptors. Let's make it public for everybody, and everybody can use this case number descriptor. But let's reuse this logic for animal species, which makes even more sense once you understand what it's talking about. So this column is talking about an ID from JBeef. So this ID number is used by JBeef database to identify a species. And this database already exists. So in theory, we should be able to reference to it. But unfortunately, our database doesn't contain this reference yet. So let's add it. So this is a JBeef taxon ID. This is how JBeef is calling it. It's a number. And this is a description directly from the website of JBeef, what it is. So let's create it. Okay. So at this point, what did we do? We create a database inside the platform that allows us to identify all data sets that, or even all data that use a relationship to JBeef. So in theory, if we're talking about diseases here, we could aggregate all of the data related to this species disease based on this ID. So that is the power of descriptors. Now, I'm sure there's many questions for you here. So I guess this is the best time to maybe answer a question or two.
Yes. So I don't know if you have, or maybe if the idea would be that the participants can play a little bit with it, or Gregor?
There is not really time for that, unfortunately.
Okay.
But of course, we will share with you the recording of this session, and you can register now. You can play with it today, tomorrow, whenever. And if there's any question, issues that you have, you can feel free to contact us, and we might be able to help you out. Okay, so I'm very close to finish anyway. So let's just. Aha. one more thing. So the annotation table, if you remember, had only null values in it. So the system does not understand what kind of data should it contain. But we do, because annotations, they're usually text, right? So let's define it as text or a string. And save. There. So let's say we went through the process of all columns and have reviewed all of the data we wanted, and we're ready to publish our data set or submit it for review. You just click the button Submit it for review. And the data set comes into our queue where it will be looked over. Obviously, this is a manual process. Even in the future, I do not believe this could be fully automated. So there will be always some wait time when we review individual data sets. And especially if there is a peer review requested, then at that point, it could take even longer for it to be published, but it could bring a lot of value to your data set. So let's go back to presentation. This is it from my side of public demonstration. Feel free for any question you have. I believe we have 10 more minutes.
Yes, Piotr has questions.
Okay, thank you. Shall I go on audio channel?
Yeah, you can also
Okay.
put
I
your
have,
video on if you want.
No, I will avoid this time. I will probably have a lot of technical questions, but after I try to use the tool, of course. So now there's too much things that I don't understand still, so I need to play with it, and also with my technicians. But I have several questions related to the introduction you gave at the beginning. I was wondering if because you explained the public availability of the data that I am going to share and the ownership policy. I would like to understand very well this point. Is it possible to upload the data, to share the data, and decide to keep them invisible for a while until I don't know, until I have published them, or something like this? So
Yes.
keep them there only in my room, or maybe just shared with the coordination of this project and with the European structures, but not with the people from all over the world who can just enter the database. This is the first question.
May I
then
answer it immediately? Mm-hmm. So the short answer is yes. The long answer is almost. It's just a matter of technical implementation, but yes, this is a planned feature that you will be able to set a date when a data set should be published, and basically it goes under embargo.
And
okay.
Gregor, can you just show where you say publish, where it goes?
Yeah, I cannot. That's why it's soon.
So Piotr,
okay.
by default, it's not public. So once you put your data, you have to ask it to be public. So by default, it won't be public.
That as well, true. So there are several statuses that we have. So you can make it by default as non-public, so it won't be shared ever. You can make it to be shared after a specified date, so once your publication has been published. Or you can share it immediately. So basically, these three options are available.
Okay. Is it also possible to decide the way they are shared? For example, I want to share immediately only, let's say, aggregated data or a part of the database, but without the personal identification. I mean, the coordinates, for example, of the apiaries. Or I want to decide the data to be available for the EFSA, let's say, and not for the people until it is published, or all these combinations. Is it possible?
Not yet, but it's something that we can think about if it makes sense and implement it. As I said, the platform is still under development, so any feedback is much appreciated, especially questions like these.
Okay, perfect. Okay, perfect. And I have another, let's say this time, this is a kind of technical question. You showed how it is possible to upload the data, and there were different ways. We can either just upload a file, but we can also link the place where the file is stored in a kind of a cloud file. I'm sorry, I'm not very experienced in this terminology. The question is, if my project, my research project, produces a cloud file which is dynamic, I mean, it is it uploads every week. It upgrades every week, updates every week with new data, something like that. Once I have linked my cloud file to this tool, to the hub, will it be important in the moment, in the exact moment that I'm doing it, or will it be dynamically updated on the hub? I don't know if it is clear, if my question is clear.
I understand the question.
Sorry, I don't know the correct terminology.
It's perfect. So the answer is none of that as of yet. What will happen is that we will receive a link to data, but it will not be transferred yet. There are some technical limitations to do immediate transfer that we are still working on. The idea is to have it automated, but I do not believe we would be able to do it during this project phase. We have more project phases in plan for the future. But what we're talking about, I believe, would make more sense for an API integration. Now, for an API, we have two options. One option is to build yourself an interface and connect to our platform, or we can make a contract and build an interface that interfaces with your data. But this is something that we would have to discuss individually.
Okay, may I give you a practical example? And this is the last thing.
Sure.
For example, in our project, we have a very big database with a lot of data, a lot of records, and a lot of types of data. And some of those types are fed from API of the automatic tools, let's say like scales, temperature sensors, and so on. And some other types of data are fed manually from the visual assessments, but they end in the same record. Maybe this is the correct term. So at the end, we have this huge database in cloud, which in part updates in an automatic way, taking the data from the electronic tools, and in part is updated manually. And I was wondering how to share it with the hub. One way is just to share the file once a month, and it will be always updated. The question was, is it possible to share the link and your hub will constantly, maybe if not upload, if not just take the data, linked to our file in such a way that a user from abroad needs to see our data on the hub, and he sees our file through the hub. I don't know if it is clear, because otherwise we will need to update it on a regular basis, and I think that it will mean that we'll need to cancel the previous file and update the new one, because this is always only one file. We will not have new parts of the same file. I don't know.
I believe that this would be best discussed individually, because this is, I believe this is more of an API question than anything else, because the idea here to share via cloud is one time, so not continually updated.
Okay.
So we're really talking here about an API which would have to be custom built from one side or the other. So let's get in contact, and we can discuss it, how we can solve this problem.
Okay.
Or challenge.
Okay, that's it. Thank you.
I will also be contacting regarding the same issue. Yeah, definitely. Sharing APIs is for me also the very interesting part of this. I'm looking forward to looking at this in detail. Thank you for the presentation. Yeah.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for the presentation. It was really impressive. I especially like when you upload the data, the descriptive statistics is already shown. This is really nice. I have a bunch of very small questions and very quick. The first one is, can you grant DOIs from your side? So if we publish the data...
Not yet, no.
Not yet, okay. But it's possible to republish some data that is already open access? Is it possible? Yes. Okay. Yeah, that's good.
You would just share it with us your current DOI, and that would actually solve the issue, I believe.
Yeah. Because we're thinking about, because currently we're using Zenodo as a public, like a really data archive platform. But the problem of Zenodo is that really it's like an ocean of data. It includes all disciplines, and if we want to really have pollinator data in one place, I believe the hub is a really great place, so that we can really collect all the pollinator data in one plot.
Well, I do not believe you were here at the beginning of the presentation, but this is one topic that I was talking about, that why would you share the data with the Pollinator Hub? We are hoping to build an interface with the Zenodo as well, just that there could be like a mirror, a permanent storage of all the data that would be uploaded to the platform itself, would be mirrored there, of course, with your permission, because we understand it's there, it's owned by EFSA, and they would like to have an integration as well. If we do it one way, we should be able to do it the other way as well. So existing data from Zenodo to put it back into the Pollinator Hub.
Yeah, great. Next question would be, what data should be then falling into the range of Pollinator Hub? So for example, if I have like plant diversity data from my transect walk, is this something interesting for the Pollinator Hub? Or this is only really just pollinator diversity taxonomy? So what is your data range?
If I may say, Gregor, so actually the data range is very wide, because it is everything that is linked to pollinators. So for instance, the collection of the registration in transepts, it's very good information. Flower visitation is very good information. Plant phenology is very good information. Climatological conditions, soil humidity, these kind of things are relevant also to understand different things of pollinators. So of course this is included.
Oh, perfect. My next question is, because it is based on EU project, as far as I know, so with the BeeLife, and you know that projects always have short lives, unfortunately, no matter how unpleasant we find it. so what is the long perspective of Pollinator Hub? Will it be like really a permanent funded project, or how would be financially handled in the long term?
Yeah, so this I'm also going to answer. So this, we are, let's say, we are developing this project for EFSA. Okay, so because the European institutions are desperately needing this kind of data for their own work. So far, the EFSA has been supporting the development of this project, and then they are still going to do it for a while. And we are discussing with the Commission to include it into the pack of measures of the European Pollinator Initiative. So it is, as you say, it perdures in the future, let's say. So it keeps alive. Yeah.
Okay, so it's a long-term project. That's really great. And my very last questions. You say that the code is open access for everybody, if I understand it right.
Yes, it's available on the GitLab.
Oh, that's great.
On the
so
website.
if you could share the link with us, that would be really fantastic.
I believe it's on the website, but I can share it as well.
Okay.
There's also issue management. If these tools are close to you, you can use that to report any issues. Otherwise, email or direct communication should work fine as well. Let's see. Maybe there's not, so I will link it in the chat.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Okay. Any other questions?
I feel like Iago wants to say something. But you are muted.
Yeah, it's a very good introduction, and I love to be there and listening to you. Thank you for all. It's a pleasure.
Thank you, Iago. So, okay, so with this, I think if there are no more questions, we are going to liberate you for the afternoon. We would like to thank you very much for having assisted today. In a month or so, more or less, we are having our next training session. This time will be, Gregor, remind me, it's about using the data, no? Once the data is there.
Yes.
Yeah.
So basically the next step of once the data is uploaded, what can you do with it?
Exactly, within the platform. So with this, we would like to invite you to use the platform, to test it, to play with it, to give us your feedback, because, well, is what Gregor said, we are still in the developmental phase. So you as users, it is very nice for us to have your user experience using and to see if we can improve it. Okay.
Maybe a short addition. Over the next few weeks, we will be including more and more documentation. So more and more resources to help you navigate the website, to get around details, basically help pages and so on. So they're a work in progress, but we are really trying to get them out and available to you.
And with this, we thank you very much, and we hope to see you in 1 month. We will send the invitation via email.